You have probably heard that a cluster of HA firewalls on cloud does not function the same as a cluster of physical firewall. Today, we will put an end to all this speculation by deploying and testing an HA cluster of FortiGate firewalls on Azure. Stay tuned. To begin with, I would like to bring your attention to the source of truth and reference behind this video. You can find this GitHub repository link within the description of the video. Please find it, go through it, and try to understand it, because before doing everything, you should 100% understand it. It is provided by Fortinet and it's quite accurate. This repository is also maintained by them, so they regularly update it. There are Azure templates links for those people who want to know what's Azure template links. Previously, I explained all the quirks and features of Azure templates in the previous videos, which I'm going to put the links within the description of this video. Long story short, you can use Azure CLI to deploy and automate the deployment of FortiGate firewalls and any other Azure resources using ARM templates. On the left side of the screen, I prepared a brief instruction. The first thing is licensing. It makes sense. If you are going to deploy it in production environment, the first and foremost important thing is licensing. If you are not going to use the pay-as-you-go version, I certainly recommend you, before doing anything, send an email to Fortinet and ask them for a temporary license. If I'm not mistaken, it is quite feasible to receive a license or two licenses for two firewalls for 60 days. The duration of the license will be something like 60 days. So take care of licensing, make sure everything is there, or use pay-as-you-go. Pay-as-you-go is the method that I'll use today. I will use the Azure Marketplace, which is a graphical way of deployment of this ARM template. Then we start with this part now. I'm going to search here Fortinet. There are a bunch of Fortinet solutions. We are not going to use this VM-based solution. The solution that I'm looking for is Azure Application Fortinet FortiGate Next Generation Firewall. Immediately, I'm going to click on Active Passive HA with Fabric Connector Failover. Be careful not using this one, which takes advantage of Azure internal and external load balancer. Then click on Create. Before filling this template, I would like to talk about the diagram for this scenario. Look here on the left side of our screen, we have one public IP address and two other public IP addresses here. In addition to 3 public IP addresses, we have 5 subnets: external subnet, internal subnet, HA sync, and HA management, in addition to protected A. You can also create as many as you want as protected B to Z. If you are going to deploy this cluster and you want to comply with Fortinet design, you need to keep all these subnets. However, for protected A to Z, you can feel free to change the name of A to Z subnets based on your organization design. For example, production VM. However, I cannot recommend you to change the names of other subnets like internal, external, HA sync, and HA management, because it is the building block of your cluster subnet. In contrast with conventional networking that you enjoyed lots of VLANs, here in Azure, which is a software-defined network, you rely mostly on the power of vNets and numerous subnets under those vNets. Then it is not like the conventional networking that you can deploy as many as you want vNets and connect them to the firewall. It is recommended to use subnet in order to segmentate between your networks. Here, the story is not exceptional. We use different subnets. The scenario that I used a little bit deviates from the Fortinet original design. The subnets on my scenario is as same as the Fortinet recommended, but I changed the IP pool. Here on the right side of the screen, you can see Fortinet used 172 for the whole pool. On the left side, I use 10/16. This also applies to other subnets within the vNets, and as you can see, IP address differs from what you can see on the right side of the screen. Okay, let's fill the template here. For the resource group, I need to create one resource group and wrote the name of resource group on the left side of the screen. I'm going to use Sweden. Username and password, of course you can configure it whatever you want. For prefix, I'm going to use this prefix, which is not that much perfect, but it works. For the license, as I mentioned, I'm going to use pay-as-you-go. And the version 7.2.10. Another important part here is instance. Here you can see Fortinet suggested that you deploy your firewalls within two separated zones. Guys, in Azure you have availability sets, which is different racks and units within the same data center, and availability zones. This literally means different data centers within a geopolitical region. So our firewalls will be distributed between two different data centers. Then everything seems fine. We can go to the networking, which is quite important. As I mentioned before, I deviated from the Fortinet original design. Then I need to change the IP address pool and subnets. I'm going to use 10.0.0/16, and for external subnets we are going to use 10.0.2. For internal one, 2.64/26. For management subnet, I'm going to use 10.04.192/26. And for protected subnet, we need to change it to 10.03/24. So far so good. Okay, it seems perfect. We can click on save. Before that, let's make sure that we put correct name on the vNet itself, as we considered on the left side of the screen. Let's click on the save. Before going to the next section, I would like to talk about gritty and nitty for each subnet. HA management is literally responsible for management of the public IP address. Each firewall receives one permanent public IP address pingable from the internet, and another public IP address which is allocated by Azure and can be manipulated using external connector. Whenever you initiate any failover due to a system failure, Azure data center failure, or VM failure, this public IP address will be removed from the primary firewall and will be allocated to the next primary or active firewall after the failover. There is another one here on the left side which is called HA sync. You can see it here. Let me delete IP addresses. This HA sync is responsible for communication of heartbeat packets. Just imagine that you are using the conventional physical firewall cluster. In that scenario, this HA sync link is a layer 2 link which can be connected either through a switch or using a cable between two switches. Keep in mind, in Azure, you don't have the luxury of layer 2 networking. There is no broadcast within Azure as same as the conventional networking. Then the Fortinet engineers was using layer 3 subnet in order to communicate the heartbeat packets between the firewalls. Then it is equivalent to the layer 2 heartbeat communication for the physical firewall. On the other side, you see the internal. Guys, you shouldn't create, deploy, connect any workload ranging from virtual machine to whatever you think within this internal subnet. In other words, after deploying this template using Azure Marketplace, there is going to be a routing table. You need to just assign it to this protected subnet. This protected subnet is responsible for your workload. Then the routing table is going to be there, but the responsibility of assigning it to the right subnet is up to you. Okay, lots of explanation. On the public IP address section, you need to change the SKU from basic to a standard, because basic SKU is like dynamic IP address. It can get changed after each reboot, so it's not going to be verified in the next step. Then standard routing preference can be Microsoft Network, and we should do same for the other public IP address. Next step is the advanced section. We are not going to change anything because it is only about Fortinet Manager, and in the review plus create section it's going to check whether we did the correct configuration or not. So far so good. It seems that it doesn't show us any kind of errors. Then we can hit create. Fortunately, all the dependency and resources got passed. I think it's better to stop this video since it's going to take some time to deploy all the VMs. And for the next video, I'm going to create just a Windows virtual machine for the sake of testing RDP connection and see how it works. If you like the video, please hit the like and subscribe button and stay tuned.